The Bucket List is a movie about two men who meet in a hospital and discover they are both terminally ill from cancer. They decide to escape from the cancer ward and depart on a road trip, fulfilling each wish on the list before they die. In the beginning of the movie, both characters start with two different perspectives of the first cups of life. According to Piaget's of cognitive development, Carter is a more formal thinker by being able to comprehend other people by understanding all perspectives, while Edward is more of a concrete thinker, who is selfish and insensitive of other people's feelings. Throughout the movie, Edward and Carter educate each other by switching roles of normal and concrete thinking. Carter teaches Edward about the importance of having joy in his life and bringing joy into other people's lives. Edward teaches Carter how significant his relationship is with his family. During this learning process, they both realize that they are a significant part of each other's lives. Making the bucket list was a way of accepting their deaths and moving on to the second cup of their lives. In Rohr's book, Falling Upward, he explains the second simplicity as being called again with the discovery of the second part of life, which is a return of the joy in the first part of life. In the movie, Edward first does not feel fulfilled with making other people feel good about their lives. Edward and his daughter had a past confrontation that caused them to become disconnected. After Edward learns how to bring joy to people's lives, he reaches out to his daughter to rekindle their relationship. While Edward is trying to leave their adventure to connect with his daughter, Carter is more interested in finishing off the trip they started together by fulfilling the bucket list. In the end, the bucket list taught Edward and Carter how to appreciate the precious things in life before they move on to the afterlife.
Carter and I saw the world together, which is amazing when you think that only 3 months ago we were complete strangers. I hope that it doesn't sound selfish of me, but the last months of his life were the best months of mine. He saved my life, and he knew it before I did. I'm deeply proud that this man found it worth his while to know me. In the end, I think it's safe to say that we brought some joy to one another's lives. So, one day when I go to some final resting place, if I happen to wake up next to a certain wall with a gate, I hope that Carter's there to vouch for me and show me the ropes on the other side.
Edward Perryman Cole died in May. It was a Sunday in the afternoon, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. He was 81 years old. Even now, I can't claim to understand the measure of a life. But I can tell you this. I know that when he died, his eyes were closed and his heart was open.
The book we chose to do for class is The Notebook. The Notebook gives its audience a bittersweet look into the lives of an aging married couple, which is Allie and Noah. Allie is afflicted with Alzheimer's disease. The disease is advancing and she does not recognize any family member nor anything about her life in general. Her husband Noah visits daily to read to her from their journal, that he hopes they might regain a memory or two and recall their loving, wonderful life together. Every once in a while, she does remember, but only for a few minutes. Then the memory is gone. Allie is tossed into a frightening confusion. Allie is placed in an Alzheimer's unit, and Noah acts as a caregiver to her. Noah spends his time reading a notebook to Allie, trying to help her with her memory. Allie is beyond the normal levels of cognitive function loss associated with the normal aging process. Allie is unable to recall events in her life through any of her own strategies. What I got from this book was that Turnier says it's unhealthy because there's no autonomy, since Allie is relying on Noah to tell her who she is as a person and as they get when she is older. It's showing Noah as her giant
In a way, roles are reversed because in the book, when he's younger, he looks for her for guidance throughout his life. And now that they're older, Allie has Alzheimer's and she is looking for him to guide her. The reason he does this is because, according to Mead's I love you because I need you versus I need you because I love you, this plays a role throughout the book because his identity is in Allie. He can't live without her, and it shows because he builds her a house when they aren't even together. Also, when he's trying to help her remember the love that they had throughout the story when they do flashbacks. According to Mead, Noah is a significant other to Allie. Allie believes that Noah is telling her what happened throughout her life through the reading of the journals. In a way, Allie is under PJ's semiotic stage. It's a town shift because she has Alzheimer's, and she's willing to trust anyone right now because she went through a traumatic stage.
The song Cat in the Cradle by Harry Chapin tells the story of a man in various stages in life. The song begins with the subject discussing the birth of his young child and immediately moves into mentioning the other priorities in his life, which include catching planes and paying bills. Or, to put it more simply, work. Further exampled in the song is how the child is conditioned to believe that these priorities are most important, as evidenced by the fact that the child views his father as the primary role model in his life. Since the child doesn't yet have the capability to realize that the father's priorities are misplaced, the child views these as the modus operandi for life. The father's actions show an early struggle between intimacy and isolation in his interactions with his child. Since he puts his priorities in places that are not relationship-oriented, he ends up in an isolated situation with his boy. It's important to note that the child doesn't view this action as flawed or problematic, since his father is the only real significant other he has at this point in his life. Later on in the song, we see the boy returning from college. The dynamic illustrated in this scene is different, as we see the son begin to demonstrate the very same isolation and relational diffusion the father struggled with in his prior years. The father at this point seems to have figured out the significance of his relationship with his son. However, due to his prior behavior, his son begins to show priorities that reflect his learned behavior from his father. This is also the point in the song where we begin to see the father discharge his loyal soldier and move on to a deeper level of understanding where he desires to be in Erikson's stage of generativity versus stagnation. He begins to understand the importance of his relationship with his son and how his inattention affected the boy's actions today. We see the final step of the father into formal thought at the end of the song when he witnesses his son put other things before their relationship, just like the father did before. He also understands the role he played in his son's development. This is a huge step for the father and is also an indication that he has completely discharged his loyal soldier.
A child arrived just the other day. He came to the world in the usual way, but there were planes to catch and bills to pay. He learned to walk while I was away, and he was talking before I knew it. And as he grew, he'd say, I'm gonna be like you, Dad. You know I'm gonna be like you. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then. My son turned 10 just the other day. He said, thanks for the ball, Dad, come on, let's play. Can you teach me to throw? I said, not today, I got a lot to do. He said, that's okay, and he walked away, but his smile never dimmed. It said, I'm gonna be like him, yeah, you know I'm gonna be like him. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, the little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. You know we'll have a the other day. So much like a man, I just had to say, son, I'm proud of you. Can you sit for a while? He shook his head and he said with a smile, what I'd really like, Dad, is to borrow the car keys. See you later, can I have them, please? And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, son, I don't know when, but we'll get together then, Dad. You know we'll have a good time then. I've long since retired, my son's moved away. I called him up just the other day. I said, I'd like to see you if you don't mind. He said, I'd love to, Dad, if I can find the time. You see, my new job's a hassle and the kids are the flu, but it's sure nice talking to you, Dad. It's been sure nice talking to you. And as I hung up the phone, it occurred to me, he'd grown up just like me. My boy was just like me. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, son, I don't know when, but we'll get together then, Dad. We're gonna have a good time there.
All right, this is Tim. I'm here with Stan and Fern, and we're going to have a little discussion here about how life goes for them. And do you find the way that you present yourself to the world today different than it was 50 years ago?
Yes, very different because of the violence, but also there is a little better side to it because now I'm not discriminated against as a woman where I used to be. When I first went into the accounting office, I said, what kind of school can I finish in order to be the head accountant? Oh, we never put women in that kind of a job. They just get married and stay home and have babies. And they wouldn't offer me anything like that. Well, after working there 37 years, I saw one of the other ladies finally accomplish what I had wanted to accomplish. So it has taken many years for the business world to start to loosen up and treat women like they should be treated.
In this next clip that deals with the physiological challenges of aging, make sure to take notice of how Fern describes the way that she deals with her loss of sight, specifically the word coping. This is a great indicator of how she is a formal thinker who has accepted the physical challenges rather than focusing on the things that she can no longer do.
Because of your physical changes and physiological changes, obviously there are things that you guys are prohibited from doing anymore, but how have you overcome that? And how have you not allowed that to affect your life in a dramatic fashion?
Well, the most dramatic thing that I've been hit with is this loss of eyesight, and I'm still trying to learn to cope with it because it hinders my life in so many different ways. I mean, go to the store, I can't read all the labels, pick up a newspaper, I can't read the fine print. It just hinders me from every direction since I can't read as well as I used to, and I'm still working on it.
Does it get a little frustrating when you, even though you can still do a lot of the things that you were able to do, but you're not able to do it in the time frame as you used to be able to? Does it ever get frustrating to you?
Well, to a certain extent, yes. Obviously, I didn't ever expect not to slow down.
This next clip is about belonging. Notice how Fern struggles with her identity between being called Fern or Mrs. This could be a representation of struggle to be a transparent person in terms of Tournier's person and personage.
Your sense of belonging change as you grow older?
Well, it's fun to be old Aunt Fern now instead of not having all these nieces and nephews. to follow me around.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's nice to have people call me Mrs. Bucknam very graciously, which is not what I'm used to. In fact, one of the nurses called me Mrs. Bucknam, and it kind of surprised me.
Stan, how about you? How do you find your sense of belonging?
Well, I think I seem to fit, as far as I can see, reasonably well.
We feel as though this next statement by Fern sums up the interview and her outlook on where she is in her life.
Well, probably the fact that I had to grow up without a father or any brothers or sisters made me realize that I had to rely much more on myself because I didn't have a normal family. So the older I got, the more I realized that, you know, I'm out here by myself. I got to make a go of it, and there isn't somebody that's going to help me any. And that, you know, that was why when I got a job, I really stuck to it because there was nobody to help me financially. So I think being an only child has made me much more self-efficient.
And how has that influenced your soul? How you live in your soul strength now?
Well, that probably makes me stronger. I have to rely on the Lord and rely on the fact that I still got to make a go of it by myself.
And do you see this as really influencing on how healthy you are now and how strong you are now compared to some folks your age?
It probably does.
In summary, we observe that Stan and Fern have a solid relationship. They are very active for their ages of 72 and 87 and look at life in a very positive way. Stan was somewhat reluctant to answer most questions, and it is our observation that this may be due to the unfamiliarity of being interviewed, or it could be looked at as though his identity is found in Fern. There were often times that he repeated Fern instead of expressing his own thoughts or feelings towards the question. Or he's just a smart old man who knows always to let the woman speak.
After compiling all of our videos, one of the things that we learned is how to use concepts from class in everyday life. The main theme we took away from this project is that it is important to develop our own identity, or you can go through your whole life without ever experiencing your true self, thus never reaching the second cup of life.
I've often wanted to go out and give these young kids a good lecture on how to live.
There you go. Maybe we could have you as a guest in school someday in class.